Hi, kindergarten, first and second grade leaders. We are preparing for October 21st. And I'm sorry I didn't get the video done last week. I appreciate all of the prayers and concern for my family as we laid Mike's mom to rest. She had a long battle, and we are happy that she is whole and complete and in her new body. So today we are continuing a series on the promise. Now remember, we started back in Genesis, and we at the very beginning, and in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. God created everything, even man and woman, in his image and with a purpose. And that purpose is Jesus coming to rescue us so that we can have a relationship with God. We're going to continue to learn about things that God put in place before Jesus came, and we're going to do that in pretty much this entire series by looking at Abraham and his descendants and the promises God made to Abraham and how God made that happen throughout all of the generations. I don't know how you feel about your family, but when I think about my family and the promises God has made to my family for many generations, I am in complete awe of his faithfulness and his steadfastness to see those things through, even to my generation and the generations after me. So I hope that you kind of take that same perspective as we're looking at this, because we're looking at a giant family tree, and we're going to get the chance to see how God builds that family tree throughout the promise. All right, in our story today, we're looking at Abraham and Isaac. Remember last week we talked about how God made the promise to Abraham that he was going to make his descendants as vast as the stars in the sky. And God started to make that revelation to Abraham through the birth of Isaac. And then after Isaac was born and grown some, he asked Abraham to take Isaac up to a mountain and provide a sacrifice. And this, I know, is a story that all of us are really familiar with. I'm hoping that as we look at it from a little different perspective this time, that you kind of have some of those aha moments that I have had. The thing we want kids to get in all of this is that Abraham trusted God even when he didn't understand God's plan. As we look at promises, there are times that we don't understand a promise, or we don't understand how it's going to happen. I would think that Abraham already experienced that a little bit when he's over 100 when Isaac is born, and over 100 during this time frame where he's asked to take Isaac to the mountain for a sacrifice. But Abraham trusted God and trusted his plan throughout the entire thing. He even said to Isaac as they were walking up the mountain that God would provide. As Isaac was noticing that they didn't have the lamb, that God would provide. And what great faith and what great understanding Abraham had of God at that time in his life. So we'll do large group. Your social activity for this series is Simon Says. I know this last week it was fun to see some of our kids learning to play Simon Says for the very first time. I know I heard many of you say that the kids didn't really understand how to play, but it was fun to teach them that skill. Remember, in those activities, you are helping kids build relationships that over time will be the relationship that helps them see Jesus in a different way and be able to take their next steps. So that's why we do those activities, and thank you for continuing to try to do them with kids and give them the opportunity to play and just have fun and connect with each other. During our small group time, your activity this week does not require any small group props or anything, you're going to get to play a game called Prove It. And I don't know if you've played something like this before. Maybe you played it more as a dare kind of thing. We're going to turn it around a little bit. And so you're going to pair up kids and ask them to talk about some talents that they think they have, that each kid has. And so pair them up or give them groups of 3. I know with your little ones, sometimes that breaking into smaller groups is hard. So maybe you want to stick around everybody together. Hopefully you'll have your teen helper in your group today, and maybe they can help go around to each kid and help you make a list of what the special talents are for each kid. And then what you're going to do is have each kid stand up in front of the group, and all of the group is going to get to ask them a few questions, kind of like 21 questions. They're going to get to ask them some questions to see if they can figure out what their special talent or skill is. Maybe you want to hint and help give some of those ideas. Then as that is winding up, if somebody guessed what the skill was, then you can look at the person that guessed and ask the person who has that skill or talent to prove it. And so they need to either do their fun dance move or make a silly face, or something that they can do in a short amount of time. You may want to coach that in them. And really, all of this is just to help kids realize that there are times that God puts us to a test, and we have to prove it. We have to prove to Him that our devotion and our love and our sacrifice, ultimately His sacrifice. And so that relates to our story today, because Abraham needed to prove to God that he was devoted and that he was going to do what God needed him to do when God needed him to do it. And not only that he was going to trust God and he was going to trust that promise. And so that's your activity. I think it's going to be lots of fun. Your memory verse activity this month is a little confusing, and I'm so very sorry for this. I wrote it and then I tried it and it doesn't work great. So I made a little change for you. You still have your straws and you still can try to build your tower with your straws if you'd like to. Unfortunately, our pieces of paper just don't stay in our straws, and our straws don't stand up. So what you have in your small group activity for your memory verse activity is a piece of paper that looks like this and some little pieces of paper. And what I thought you could do is pass out the little pieces of paper to the kids, put the big piece of paper in the middle of the table, and have kids match up their words by laying it on top of the words that are on your big piece of paper. Do you see how I did that? You have "you are" there. Our little piece of paper says "you are." And so the kids are just going to lay their piece of paper there on top of it and take turns. And then as you've said all of it, then you will say all of the words together. And you can repeat this over and over many times. I hope this is an easier activity for you. Like I said, you still can take the little pieces of paper and try to build the towers, but I didn't find myself to be too successful at building that. Maybe they want to take their straws and build something else out of it. All right, and then you will pray and dismiss. Thank you so much for leading. Thank you so much for your grace and understanding through all of the transition and me overseeing preschool now as well. We are beginning to build our teams where we are more fully staffed, and I am praying for each of you daily. Look forward to seeing you again soon. If you need anything, please reach out to me at any time. Talk to you soon.